Hi guys, I want to share something with you real quick. I've been thinking a lot lately about moments in my life where God has met me, where I've experienced His presence, felt His touch, and was changed in those moments. And, usually, normally I think about my faith journey sort of as beginning in my early 20s. One of my friends started sharing with me about this Bible study he was visiting and talking to me about God, and then I started stirring up memories and stuff in my life, and pulled out an old Bible from the third grade my Sunday school teachers, Mr. and Mrs. Chadwick, had given me, and started reading the Bible. Anyways, I'll tell you that story sometime. I normally think of that time forward as sort of my faith journey, but I was thinking about it recently about times before that, when God has touched my life, and there's two that really stood out to me. The very first time that I feel like I can remember in my life that I know that I had an experience with God, I was in the living room. We were visiting my grandma and grandpa up in the state of Washington, and I don't remember, honestly, very much about the trip. I don't know if I remember if we went there on the train or the plane that time. I can't remember. I was a little kid. But I remember just this moment of sitting in the living room at his house. I think my cousin might have been sitting next to me, but my grandpa started praying over me. I think he might have anointed me with oil or something, and he started just praying over me. And I had my eyes closed, and as he was praying over me, all of a sudden this feeling just came over me, and I started to cry. And it wasn't sadness, I wasn't scared, anything like that. It was like a feeling of just warmth, like love. And I was trying to figure out, how do I describe what it was that I was feeling in that moment. It's hard to put it into words or kind of describe what that would feel like. What can I compare that to? There was another moment I felt the same thing. I think it was later on. I was a little bit older, maybe. I was a Royal Ranger, which is like the Christian Boy Scouts in the First Assemblies of God churches, and I think I was at a summer camp. Again, it was so long ago, it's hard for me to remember much about that trip, but there's a very clear experience that I have in my mind of being in the chapel service, and I think the pastor asked if anybody wanted to come up and pray to receive salvation and ask Jesus to save us. And some of us went up there, and so we kind of stood in a circle, and the pastor started to pray, and I think we were praying maybe with them. I can't remember exactly again. But what I do remember is one of the leaders walked up behind me and just put his hands on my shoulders as I was praying. And as I was praying, as soon as I felt that touch, all of a sudden the same feeling came over me, just like tears and just overwhelming kind of just love. And the crying in both situations was sort of like that deep kind of like racking, your shoulders are moving and you're just sobbing kind of uncontrollably, tears falling down my face and snot coming out of my nose. And again, it wasn't a bad thing, it wasn't a scary thing. And again, I was trying to figure out how do I describe what that is? 'Cause I could just say, oh, I cried, you don't really get what I was feeling. So I was watching right now just some YouTube videos, because I came over here to Del Taco to get a burrito for lunch, and it was one of those reunions where a mom, a military mom, surprises her daughter on the basketball court. And so they're all lined up, kind of, I don't know what for, but they're lined up and they're saying, yeah, we got a surprise for, Kaylee. And they bring her to the center, and she's like, what's going on? And it's for her birthday or something. And they show her these FaceTime videos or whatever from her mom, messages, video messages from her mom. She's watching them, and then you go, we're having technical difficulties, why don't we just have her mom come out? And so she turns around, and it's like the same in all those videos, right, where there's this moment of shock where they stand there and they're like shocked by that their parent is standing there, their mom or their dad or whatever, and then they just start crying, and running. They run to their parent, and And it's not like they just go give him a hug and, oh, it's so good to see you. It's like something breaks in them and the waterworks just start. They just start crying, they're sobbing, and they're clinging to their parent. It's like she was fine before she knew her mom was there, right? She was totally fine. She was laughing with her friends and, just normal, and everything was cool. She had it all together. It wasn't like she even felt like in that moment she was missing anything. But when she saw her mom, it's like she in that moment, she realized how much she needed her mom, how much she needed to see her. And it's like all that emotion just came out. And I think that, as I was watching that, I go, that's it. That's the feeling. In my grandpa's living room, a little boy. Like, I wasn't there to seek God. I wasn't looking for him. I was just there to visit my grandpa. And my grandpa visited me, or my grandpa prayed over me, and as he's praying over me, all of a sudden God just steps into my world and touches me. And in that moment, it's like I feel his presence, I feel his love, and it's like I was fine. I wasn't looking for God. I wasn't really feeling like I was missing him, but all of a sudden he's there, and it's like the weight drops off of me, and the feeling that I think I felt was like relief, like, oh, this is who I've been longing for. This is who I've been missing. I didn't even know I was missing him, right? But here he is, and I'm just crying. I'm clinging to him, holding on, and I'm just feeling his embrace. Same feeling that I felt up at camp, and there's been other times in my life that I've had that experience. It's funny because I was reading last night I think it's Psalm 42. He says, my soul thirsts for you, O God. Like a deer pants for streams of water, so my soul thirsts for you. My soul longs for God, and I think, it's true of David, it's true of believers, people that know God, but I just wonder if there's something in the heart of every single person that instinctively knows that we're missing him. We're missing something. It's not just something, it's someone. We're missing him. And we don't know it. Like, we're fine. We go through life fine. Like, we just, we're laughing, we have good times and we have bad times, and we just get through it and we figure it out. But it's like, then all of a sudden there'll be this moment when God just opens the door of your heart and just steps in to your space, and it's like the dam breaks, and all that emotion comes out. It's like this feeling of relief, like, oh my gosh, I've missed you. Well, we didn't even know we were missing him. Sometimes we didn't even know he was there, but then he's there, and then anyway, I'm going on, but I think it's important for us to remember those times in our lives when God has shown up, when he's stepped into our world. It's like the existential stepping into reality, making himself known to us. It's like he is God. He spoke and the whole universe sprang into being. He formed man from the dust of the earth and breathed the breath of life into him. He is God. He's eternal in the heavens. He existed before all things. All things were created by him and for him and through him, and without him nothing was made that is made. And yet that same God cares enough about each one of us that he actually takes the time to step into our reality just to show us he's there. And how amazing is that? Those times when he's done that in our lives, I think we need to, we need to remember those times. Like in Joshua chapter 4, when the children of Israel finally come to the Jordan River and they're about to cross into the promised land, and the Levites are carrying the ark, and they step foot into the water, and all of a sudden God takes the waters of the Jordan River and he just stands them up, and he stops the flow of the river, and then the ground dries up before them, and they walk over, and they're standing with the Ark of the Covenant in the middle of the river, but they're standing on dry ground. And it's like he's duplicating this miracle he worked with Moses, and all the children of Israel pass over on dry ground and get to the other side. And then finally the Levites continue on, and when their foot crosses onto the shore, the river flows again. And Joshua told the people while it was still, dry ground, he said, each take one man from each of the tribes and take a stone and set it up as a memorial. And he talks about later on, like when your children ask you, Dad, what does this mean? What does this stone mean? You can tell him about all the awesome things that God did for the children of Israel. It's like we're supposed to remember the past. We're supposed to remember those times when God stepped in. And I wonder if there's a time in your life when God has just shown up. Maybe you were praying for it, maybe you weren't. Maybe you were looking for him and maybe you weren't. And yet God stepped in and intervened. I look back and I think, the next chapter of my life after that summer camp, shortly after that, I'm pretty sure we stopped going to church, and then I ended up going into junior high and high school. And during those times, I totally lost my way. And it wasn't until my early 20s that I came back. If you had asked me at 17, do you believe in God? I probably would have said, I don't know. I don't know what I believe. Like, what about the dinosaurs? What about evolution? What about the Big Bang Theory? What about, all of that? But I always knew in the back of my mind that when I was a little boy in my grandpa's living room, and when I was a little boy at summer camp, God showed up for me, and he showed me he was there, and he showed me he was real. And all of the arguments, we should know why we believe what we believe, and I do know why I believe what I believe. And we can have theological debates, and we can have philosophical debates, and we can have scientific debates, and we can do that all day if that's what you want to do. But there's something in those moments when God steps into your reality, he makes himself known to you. He shows you who he is and his love for you, and you feel it. No one can take those moments away from you. No one can. No experience, no doubt, nothing can take that away from you. What are those moments when he stepped into your life and showed you who he is? When he embraced you and let you feel his love for you? I would love to hear about those. And maybe I'm going to post this, I think, on Facebook or something. When you think back and remember those times and you can articulate it, maybe you can tell me the story. You could post it in the comments here if you want to. You can post it up on my page. You can send it to me in a private message. You could post it on your page. That'd be even better. But anyway, what are those moments that God came through for you? What's he calling to you to remember? I think he wants you to remember that, because maybe the place you're at right now in your life is not the same, and maybe you're kind of dry and thirsty and you don't know what to believe, and people are like, hey, where's your God? And you're like, I don't know. Maybe he wants you to remember those times, right? And then believe him to do the same thing again, because he will. Tell me about it. I want to hear what God's done in your life.